Let me ask you something simple, but quietly powerful. When was the last time you truly felt your birthday? Not just acknowledged it, not just replied thanks to a few messages, but actually felt it the way you did as a child. When your heart thumped with excitement at the sight of balloons, cake, and the warm attention that gathered around you for one small, sacred day. Fast forward to adulthood. The same date comes and goes, but now it feels like any other day. You wake up, maybe get a few notifications, maybe your mom calls, and then you move on. You say you don't really celebrate, you say you don't care, you call it just another day. But is it? Because underneath that casual shrug, beneath that nonchalance, there's often a quiet story. People who treat their birthday like a normal day aren't cold or detached. Often they're the most reflective ones, the ones who learn to hide their expectations because disappointment taught them to. Psychologically, birthdays act like emotional mirrors. They reflect how you feel about being alive, how you relate to attention, and how comfortable you are being seen. When someone says, "I don't care about my birthday," what they often mean is, "I stopped expecting anything." And that's very different from not needing validation. Some people genuinely outgrow birthday excitement because they found peace in ordinary days. To them, joy isn't limited to a date on the calendar. Life itself becomes the celebration.
But for others, the story is more complicated. Birthdays carry subtle anxiety, not because of age, but because of memory. Maybe birthdays remind them of being forgotten. Maybe they once cared too much and got hurt by unmet expectations. So instead of saying, "I hope someone remembers," they say, "It's just another day." Indifference becomes protection. This is emotional self-protection in action. When the mind experiences repeated letdowns, it lowers the bar. You teach yourself not to hope too loudly. And while that seems sad, it's actually a form of emotional intelligence. The mind choosing stability over the excitement that once led to pain. But here's the twist. That same protection can slowly dull joy. You begin walking through your own life like a guest at someone else's party. Polite, observant, but distant. Think about how many people say, "I don't care about birthdays," yet replay the day later, noticing who didn't message. Even pretending not to care is still a form of caring. Psychologists call this avoidant validation behavior, convincing yourself you don't need recognition because part of you fears not receiving it. Somewhere along the way, people who became the strong one, the responsible one, learned to downplay their own joy. They remember everyone else's birthdays, but detach from their own. Over time, the day starts to feel irrelevant, even awkward.
But discomfort with being celebrated isn't humility. It's emotional fatigue. Deep down, many self-reliant people still want to feel seen. Not with grand gestures, but with understanding. They want someone to remember not just their date of birth, but who they've been becoming all year. That's the paradox of emotional maturity. The more independent you become, the harder it feels to simply receive love. So, birthdays turn into neutral zones, a place where vulnerability could appear, but instead gets replaced with practicality. Let's just get through the day, they say, while replaying old memories in the quiet spaces of their mind. Birthdays remind us of time, how far we've come and how far we haven't. Some people minimize the day to avoid confronting that internal comparison. Not out of denial, but out of self-preservation. Still, the subconscious takes inventory. Gratitude, nostalgia, regret, hope, all mixing together. Because birthdays, stripped of their noise, are checkpoints of consciousness. They make us pause and ask, am I living honestly? Am I becoming someone I recognize? Treating your birthday like a normal day isn't avoidance. It might actually be introspection done quietly, without an audience. Not all growth needs to be loud. Some of the deepest transformations happen in silence, in the way you react differently than you used to, forgive faster, notice beauty more easily. Maybe that's the truest kind of celebration.
Yet, even the most self-sufficient people deserve to feel special. Not because they need validation, but because recognition nourishes the parts of us that hold space for others. The people who treat their birthdays like any other day are often the same ones who remember everyone else's details, who check on others first, who give without keeping score. And sometimes those people forget that they too deserve warmth. Even independent hearts need to be seen. If you've ever felt that quiet ache on your birthday, the soft loneliness that doesn't demand attention but still lingers, that's just your heart reminding you that connection still matters. Birthdays aren't about perfection or achievement. They're about the simple truth that you're still here, still learning, still evolving, still trying to make sense of life. So maybe treating your birthday like a normal day isn't indifference. Maybe it's evolution. It's understanding that meaning doesn't need noise. But if someone remembers, let them. Let them say your name. Let them remind you that you matter. Because you do, even on the days that feel ordinary. Especially then. Growing up teaches us that celebration doesn't need confetti. Sometimes it just needs awareness, a moment of stillness, a deep breath. You don't even have to make a wish. You already are one, a living continuation of every version of yourself that made it this far. And that alone is worth celebrating, quietly or loudly, every single year.